Welcome to the AACFB's 2022 Meet the Funder webinar series. My name is Monica Harper, and I'm the Executive Director of the AACFB, and I'll be your host. Our presenter today is Vicki Shimkus from Balboa Capital. Balboa Capital is both a funding source member and a gold sponsor of the AACFB, and I'd like to thank them for their support of the association. Before I turn it over to Vicki, I'd like to go over a few items to make this webinar more enjoyable and informative for everyone. During the presentation, you should see a Q&A box that allows you to ask questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit the questions in the box and they should be answered by the end of the webinar. Please reserve the chat box for communication between attendees. The entire webinar should take no more than 30 to 45 minutes. For those of you who would like to review this webinar at a later date, it will be posted on the 2022 Meet the Funder page of the website and will be emailed out to the AACFB membership. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Vicki. It is all yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you to Monica and to the AACFB for allowing us to come today and share some information on Balboa Capital. My name is Vicki Shimkus. I am the Broker Relations Manager for the Equipment Finance team here at Balboa Capital. I've been with Balboa Capital for a couple of years now. A little bit about information about Balboa Capital is it was founded in 1988. It started out as a smaller broker and then moved up to become a funder several years ago now. We've been an independent for the most part since 1988. We're really technology driven. We always say it's technology's in our veins. We really push technology and being able to service our customers and our brokers and our vendors with as light touch as we possibly can to make the process go as smooth as possible for you. We have over 200 employees at 5 office locations. We're headquartered in Costa Mesa, California. I will tell you that since the pandemic, we all went remote and we have not come back. It's actually worked out really well. We've liked the remote concept for us has worked. We do have a few people that come into that huge office that we have in Costa Mesa, but it's really about 10 people, I think, that come in that, open the mail. And once a week, we have an accounting person come in to cut some checks. But for the most part, everybody is remote at this point, which has worked out really well for us because it's been able to allow us to expand sort of our employee footprint. So instead of just hiring people in Orange County, California, we're able to hire across the country. We have a funder in Pennsylvania. We have a credit person in Iowa. So we have people all over the country, both in operations and in sales. And so it's really been able to kind of get the best of the best as far as when we're hiring people, and we really like that ability. We have over 600,000 customers. We're rated really well as far as customer on Google reviews and that sort of thing. But Balboa Capital's been around for a really long time, and we've been really proud about our history and how well we've done, and to the point that we were an independent, one of the last independents, until December of 2021 when we were acquired by Ameris Bank. Ameris Bank is a 50-year-old publicly traded bank. They're headquartered in Georgia. I think that's where they started, in Moultrie, Georgia, and I think their headquarters are in Atlanta now. Over $24 billion in assets, over 2,900 employees, and it's worked out really well for us, just for a variety of reasons. One, we have a huge bank behind us. Definitely gives us a lower cost of funds, which has been fantastic as well, and a lot more stability. So if we were still an independent in today's kind of rate climate, we probably would have had to raise rates 2 or 3 times. And we haven't had to raise rates at all. In fact, we're still using our rates from November of 2021. We haven't had to make any changes at this point. And that's been really good for us. And then additionally, it gives us, kind of a wider net. Like we now can do SBA loans by putting you in contact with our Ameris Bank partners. We do portfolio purchases from very small, $1 million monthly portfolio purchases to large one-offs. And we're even interested in buying small brokerages, another finance company. So it's really been great for us. It's been, I think we're going on about 9 months now, and it's worked great. They've let us, our management team's still the same. They've let us kind of continue as we've gone, and it's just helped us with that lower cost of funds, a lot more stability, a lot more power behind us than we had before. So it's been really great partnership. The equipment broker program started in, I was hired in the last week of April 2020, and then we funded our first deal in May of 2020. Initially, it was just myself. We quickly had to expand because I just couldn't keep up with stuff. So now we have a total of 5 people on our team. We added Danielle Bickle shortly after I started. And then Patrick Kaufman joined us, I think, November 2021. Nick and Bryce are our newest reps. Nick joined us in January of this year. And Bryce just joined us a few months ago and is doing really well. We have over 200 brokers signed up for the program now. And we've really enjoyed working with everybody. This is a great team. Everybody's super positive. They have a lot of industry background, and it's worked out really well for us. So I'm hoping you've already worked with some of them or talked to some of them, or that you get to soon, because it's really a nice group that we have. In order to get signed up with us to go over some of the broker qualifications, we have you fill out a broker enrollment package. That enrollment package consists of the standard, application agreement, W-9 and ACH information so that we can pay commissions out. In order to get set up as a broker, we do ask for a minimum of 2 years time in business or comparable experience in the industry. So if you've worked someplace else before, we can go ahead and use that as part of your time in business. We do pull a LexisNexis as opposed to pulling personal credit. So instead of pulling a CBR on the ownership, we pull LexisNexis reports both on the company and on the principals. And on that LexisNexis, we're just looking to see if there's, we'll look for the standard suits, liens, and judgments, prior bankruptcies, and it does give us criminal activity as well. If we have any of those things on there, we're probably not going to be able to get you set up. But if you don't, we really can get you set up in just a couple of hours and get you transacting. We just send it up to management for approval. Once it gets signed up, you're signed into the IT gets you set up, and you're in the system, and we're good to go. So it takes a very short amount of time to get you all set up. I'm going to go over the broker programs that we have under our channel. The first one I'm going to talk about is private label. So we have 2 ways of doing private label. We have private label where you're using the Balboa documents, but we put your logo on the documents so that when the customer's signing it, they're seeing your name and your information there. The lessor is listed as vendor services center, which allows us to countersign those docs without having to send them to your office to have you sign them before they come to us. So that way, when the docs come in, good to go. We can get them signed, get them countersigned, and get everything funded and wrapped up without having a lot of back and forth. Private label also, it allows us to invoice in your name. So your logo is going to be at the top of those invoices. The customer service portal that they can sign into to make a payment and look up their contracts, that sort of thing, would also have your login, your logo information on the login screen. So we do try to make it so that you're in front of the customer, you're forward facing, and we're not. So we try not to break white label as much as we possibly can, just to make sure you're the one that's always in front of the customer. The second way we're doing private label is we have allowed a few brokers to start using their own documents once we've gone through legal review. We do look at things like, obviously, ratios and volume and that sort of thing, but we do allow that as well. We also, starting, I think it was in December of 2020, we started discounting as well. So discounting, again, it can be used in conjunction with private label, or you don't have to be private label, but you can still choose to discount. So we give you both of those options. And discounting is going to be based, again, volume, commitment, that sort of thing. Ratios, make sure we have a good partnership. You can use both of those programs, as I said, and both of those programs are allowed a slightly lower rate than our standard program. Our rates for these 2 start at 6.25 currently. The other program is just our standard program. Rates on those start at 7.25, and it's for those brokers that aren't interested in private label or discounting. Maybe they just want to send us a couple of deals a month and not have to deal with that. So we do allow that as well. One of the things that's not on here that I wanted to talk about is we also have a working capital program. And that working capital program, it's headed up by Pujanene, who is sort of the me of the working capital group. She joined us earlier this year and is doing a great job. But we operate kind of as 2 separate channels, even though we're maybe working with the same broker partner. You would have a different rep for the working capital group. And they do have a separate agreement. But if you're approved for their program, you're automatically approved for our program. You just have to sign our agreement and vice versa. So if you're approved over here and you also want to send working capital deals, we just have a separate ISO agreement that they have you sign. Just because obviously doing working capital is maybe a little different than equipment finance. So we have the 2 different agreements for that. just to shift gears, tools for success, we want to give you as much information as we can. We want you to be as transparent as possible and give you all the tools that you need in order to be successful and help your customers do well and appreciate doing business with you and appreciate doing business with us. So we have a white paper broker manual that has all of our information on it. It's updated anytime we've made a change. You always have access to that. It's online. And as you saw before, our smiling faces earlier, your dedicated broker rep, who's really your advocate here at Balboa, who's going to help you get set up, help you get trained, help you with getting approvals and docs and getting your transactions funded. So we really like the group that we have. We're always looking to add a couple more broker reps. If anybody knows anybody who's looking. The other thing we have is Portal 360. So Portal 360 is our online portal, and I know there's a lot of talk about online portals. I've been doing this for a few years. This is my 31st year, I think, in the industry, and I have worked with a lot of different portals over the years. And for me, Portal 360 is sort of above and beyond anything I've worked with. When we say it's your seat at Balboa Capital, we truly mean that, because if you're calling me and asking me some information about your transaction, I'm just logging into the portal and looking at the same thing that you have access to. So you're seeing everything that I'm seeing. And we try to make it as easy as possible for you to use the portal. We provide training. I'm always trying to, we're always willing to jump on the phone and help talk you through anything. If it's a different deal you've never docked before, you maybe don't know how to input the corporally application, we're always available to help you with that. We've made a lot of enhancements to Portal 360. Actually, they're constantly enhancing it. I'm always getting little notes saying, now we have the ability to do this. Which has been fantastic because it's something that we've designed and our IT people have control over. So, if somebody's making a suggestion on something that they think would work better, we can usually implement it pretty quickly as long as it makes sense for everybody. So it's really nice to have that. Application submission, I know I can input an app within a minute. It's really easy. Even if you don't want to input the application, we can also do an API hookup. Again, because it's proprietary that we've sort of developed, our IT people can hook up both, standard people that are using, for example, Salesforce CRMs. Those are pretty easy because it's pretty much the same. And then people that even have proprietary CRMs that they've developed, we've been able to help them with an API hookup. So that's something we're definitely interested in doing because it helps all of us go a little bit faster. That way you can just push a button and the deal's here. We also have something called Balboa Quote, which if you're not interested in inputting the app, you have a customer that fits our profile. Balboa Quote comes with an application that the customer has a link to that they can go online and have them fill out the application, and it downloads right into your portal and transmits over. You get an email saying that a new submission's been entered into under your portal and who the customer is, so you know that customer's gone ahead and entered their application. So we have a variety of ways to allow you to input transactions for us. It has e-signature integration. So obviously most people are doing e-signature these days. And we've tried to make it as easy as possible as we can. So you can see the docs, create the docs, send the docs out. You have control of that all of the time. The thing for me that's sort of the feather in the cap for Balboa is that instead of just being a front end portal, it has customer service integration, which for me was just sort of kind of life-changing because it gives the broker the ability to go in their own customer database and get information at any time. So if you have a customer that's looking for a copy of their invoice, or they want to know when their next payment's due, or they want a copy of their signed documents, you don't have to call in and ask myself to do it. You don't have to call customer service or the funder or anybody. You can go into Portal, access that information, and be able to download it and send it directly to your customer. If you need a payoff, you can actually go and request it and have it sent directly to your customers, and the payoff quotes come over in literally 5 seconds. So the only time that's going to take a little bit longer is if maybe we're having a delinquency issue and it has to go through the collections group before we can issue a payoff. But for the most part, you're getting that information right away. It even has the ability to, the last time they happened to call in and talk to our customer service representative in our office, it'll have those notes about who they spoke to and what they talked about and what the response was. So you have that. We've actually recently implemented the ability to track the titling status. So if it's a deal that we booked, it was titled, and you want to make sure we've received the title from the vendor. You want to make sure the customer's gotten their equipment registered. You can go into the system and it covers where they are in titling in the process. It also has a new enhancement, which I'm super excited about, is insurance update. So in the past, you had to email us over your insurance binder, and anytime it was renewed and it went through the insurance process, and sometimes that can be a little time consuming. Now we have the ability to go, you can input it online, the customer can input it online. It actually has a link that you can send to the insurance agent, that the insurance agent can just go input it online. And that's a feature that's just kind of come out in the last 30 days. So just a lot of the, pre-funding and post-funding is what Portal 360 allows you to have. And I think that's fantastic because you want to be in front of your customer as much as possible. We want to make sure that's always going back to you so that you can get new deals from them. Real-time transaction info is just, we update the system. I think Portal updates something like every 15 seconds. So you're always going to get up-to-date information if you're looking for statuses on things. You'll get an email as well. So you always get that. You also can opt for texting, and we will text you information if you want that as well. But being able to just log in and look up anything at any time and know that it's current information is super helpful. Private label integration, I kind of already mentioned that. It'll have your logo on our documents, that sort of thing. So a lot of these features of Portal 360, I think, kind of sets it apart from others that are just sort of a front end system. And in my experience, it's been really, really good. I'm going to go over our credit parameters. So we have our application only is $350,000. We go up to $500,000 for hard assets. We do have a startup program, so any business that's been less than 2 years time in business, we can do for a max of $50,000, but the rates for that do start at 10%, which is a pretty good rate for a startup, if you know my background. We don't want to do a ton of startup business, but we do a fair amount of it, and it's done pretty well. We have risk-based pricing A through E on through all of our programs, and we do the same thing for the startup program. Used equipment, we try to stay within 10 years. We do have the ability to do corp only. We treat a not-for-profit the same as corp only. We're just looking for 10 years time in business. We really are going to look at their paynet and see if we have other corp only debt taken out on there. We want to be the first one that gives them a corp only approval, but we'll definitely be one of the gang if other people have already done so. As far as credit processing, 96% of our submissions are decisions within an hour. You're going to get a quick decision. Our credit team is truly lightning fast. And even on follow-up stuff, we have metrics in place that they'll get back to you within a certain amount of time. It works really well. I only hear good things about credit as far as turnaround time. We do pull a soft pull Experian for a credit application review. And we also pull a paynet report. So both of those kind of come into play. We have a proprietary scorecard that we've used based off of our 30 plus years in the industry. So we're kind of using a scorecard, obviously, in conjunction with analysts that do look at your transaction. One of the things I wanted to mention, like we do on the broker application, is we do pull LexisNexis on our applicants for credit. And so sometimes you will not know something that we have found on the LexisNexis that may come as a surprise to you. So if you're ever wondering where we're getting that from, you can obviously call in and ask, and we can tell you, what we found on LexisNexis. Because we have had to decline some deals for, criminal activity. I had a recent transaction for a trucking company, and the driver had something like 18 DUI arrests and citations. So we obviously didn't do that deal, but the broker was very surprised because they'd done several deals for this particular company, not realizing that this was a factor. So just kind of, we might find information that you weren't aware of. One of the things that kind of comes up because of the LexisNexis is if there are multiple bankruptcies. If they have one bankruptcy in the past, we'll look at it if it's been, more than 7 years since they filed. But if they have multiple, we're really not interested in doing business with them because, give them one chance, but we don't want them to have multiple chances. So we won't do a multiple bankruptcy. So that does come up from time to time because LexisNexis goes beyond the 10 years that the credit bureau report does. So just to kind of keep that in mind that you might see that and not expect it. Because I get asked this all the time, I wanted to make sure I covered over the road Class 8 transaction. Vocational is okay, but for trucking companies or people getting sleepers, that sort of thing, to be completely transparent, we don't love them. So we're going to be pretty restrictive on the ones that we do. We want them to be very strong, and there are certain criteria. is the only industry that we require a minimum time in business. We will not do a startup. Their minimum is going to be 3 years and 3 power units. So even if they're getting a trailer, we're still going to look at how many power units they have. We do look at safer. It's pretty much the only thing we'll use to show how many they have. And the thing that's a little different is they have to be under their own authority. They can't be leased on with somebody else, or we're not interested. We want them to have to go through that process of being under their own authority and do the filing and doing all of the stuff that they have to do to retain that. So we do make sure they have that. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that because it comes up. We do have a minimum FICO under that of 650. Our normal is about 640. So we do have a little higher threshold when we're doing an over the road. Other equipment, that being said, titled equipment, we do a ton of. Commercial vehicles are something that we do a lot of. And we've spent a lot of time in the last year or so just trying to remove as much friction points because title does get a little cumbersome when you're having to get all of the sort of extra documents that you get. So I kind of took a look at what's slowing things down from getting funded, and we made some program changes because of that. So powers of attorney, obviously, traditionally you get a notarized power of attorney. At some point last year, we decided to get notarized power of attorneys electronically through notarize.com. And we did that for a while, and that seemed to help out a little bit. And then sort of in meeting and talking about it with the groups in our CV group, how often do we actually need a power of attorney? I know we get them on every deal, but how often do we actually need them? And it was determined that we don't need them enough that we were willing to kind of slow things down. So we've decided that we no longer need powers of attorney on titled equipment. If we were to need it for some reason post-funding, our titling department will reach out and get that from the customer. So that's something to kind of help remove the friction point. Another thing that started this year is it takes so much time to get a certificate of insurance correct. And with all the needed information that we need on there, when you're getting it, we have our contract number on there, and we have to be listed as the lien holder, the loss payee. We decided that, again, we're not going to hold up funding to get a finalized COI. What we're going to ask for is evidence of insurance. So for evidence of insurance, we're just looking for a current policy that they have. It needs to be in there, the name of their business, and needs to have a policy number on it and effective dates so that we know it's still good and still valid for at least 30 days. So we'll just ask for evidence of insurance for funding. Post-funding, we do ask the customer to provide us with their certificate of insurance filled out properly with the proper coverages. But that's done post-funding. They have 30 days to get it to us. And again, we just made that enhancement where we have the ability to just link it directly to the insurance agent. They can just fill it out online. We're not waiting for the paper, the piece of paper that has everything filled out. So tried to make it as easy as we possibly can, just to try to get those deals to flow through a lot quicker. Trailers under 50,000, we actually don't even title them anymore. We determined that usually if it's a smaller trailer under 50, we're probably not going to go repossess it for the most part. So rather than going through the process of getting those, smaller trailers titled, we are no longer going to require that. So we don't even need a guarantee of title. We don't need title applications. We don't need the back of the title filled out with lien holder information. We do ask for a copy of the front and the back of the title just so we make sure it's a clear purchase. And then we get a document from the customer. It's the release of responsibility document, and that document states the customer will take care of titling the equipment and make it so that they can use it over the road, but that is their responsibility. It absolves the responsibility for Balboa or for the broker to get that titled. So that's really helped us make those small trailer deals go through the system. And just to be clear, it's based on the asset cost, not on the transaction size. So if you have multiple trailers on a deal, but those multiple trailers are each under 50,000. So my example here was for 45,000. So it's a $180,000 transaction. We're still not going to need that title paperwork because each asset is under 50,000. That's really helped us because we don't have to go through title review. It just makes it go smooth. We funded a deal a week ago that we approved at 6:45 in the morning. It was for a trailer for 28,000, and it funded by noon. Actually, I think I funded at 11 o'clock. And because we didn't need to get all the title paperwork, we just needed that front and back. So same day funding. So it's kind of our goal to try to get things in and out as quickly as possible. We have like a big woohoo when we have a same day funding. They're tired of my woohoos when I do that because we're all separate. So I send them a little Teams message saying, "Yay, we got another same day." 100% of our documents are e-signature. The only time we're ever going to need a paper document is usually if there's a fraud warning. We do ask for a notarized signature, and that's only when there's a fraud warning on the CBR. But for the most part, everything's going to be electronic. If your complete document package is received by noon Pacific time, it will fund that same day. As long as we have everything in, ready to go, we get that verbal call done, it should fund that same day. We no longer require a void check for funding. We use the information that they've provided on their documents. We do a check through GIACT is the name, and as long as it meets that, we'll go ahead and fund that transaction and pull those funds without having to ask for a copy of the void check. And everything's ACH. We pay the vendors via ACH. We collect the payments via ACH. We pay your commission via ACH. So that's really our focus is, again, we don't have anybody in the office, so everything really has to be electronic. And we do really push for that because it just makes things go faster. We've switched to 100% e-signature. We do not accept paper docs anymore. We'd rather walk away from the deal than take a paper doc. So that's sort of a hard and fast rule that we sort of put the hammer down August 1st of this year. that we just don't want to do that because it causes so much kind of friction and delay in getting things done. So everything is done via e-signature now. I did want to mention we do pre-funding. We have two ways of doing pre-funding. So just to kind of make it clear, for us, a pre-fund is we aren't actually starting the contract. We are paying the vendor either a portion or 100%. So we can do a 30, 30, 40, or we can do a full 100%. And pre-funding for us is because the transaction needs to be, the equipment needs to be manufactured. It's going to take more than 30 days to get here for some reason. Or it's a transaction where we require a site inspection, which we do over 100,000. If it requires a site inspection because we have to actually do that before we can fund, we have to pre-fund those transactions so that we can do that site once the equipment's been delivered. We do use TruePick for site inspections under 150,000. And I don't know if you're familiar with TruePick, but they take a picture, download an app, fill out a document online, and it comes in that way. We do those up to 150,000. And then anything over that, we do a physical site inspection. We also do early commencement. So this is the difference. Pre-fund is for it's going to take more than 30 days or we need a site. Early commencement is quick turn. They're buying a title piece of equipment. They're going to pick it up that day. Shipping purposes, and the equipment's going to get to them in less than 30 days, that sort of thing. So we call that early commencement. We do start the contract. We release your commission and pay the vendor 100% when we do the early commencement. So a little bit different and a little kind of distinction between the two of those. So if you're not sure which one you're going to need, just call and ask your broker up and we can confirm which one we'll be doing for you. We don't charge a pre-fund fee for those items, just so you know that as well. That is all I had for today. I'm going to show you real quick contact information for our team, their phone numbers and emails. Reach out anytime you have questions. Any one of us can help you. If we can't, we'll find you the answer. It doesn't matter who you call. We're not set up geographically. So if you like anybody's smiling face here, feel free to call any of them. And we're happy to answer anything we can. We try to be as transparent as possible, get you as much information as possible so that you can be successful. And that was all I had. I again appreciate you for coming and for watching this and joining me today. And thanks again to the AACFB for allowing us to come here and talk about our program today. We're super excited. We're going to be here next week in a couple of weeks at the show in Las Vegas. So we hope that you'll stop by the booth. We're all going to be there except for Danielle. So come by and see one of us. We're happy to say hello in person too. Thanks so much.
Looks like we have a few questions. Excuse me. What are the standard commissions on equipment financing programs and MCA programs?
So on MCA, I do know, not that I'm the expert on MCA stuff, but we go up to 17 points on those. And I believe it's up to 250,000 is what they'll finance through the MCA side. On the equipment broker side, it's going to be based on the the transaction size. So up to 50,000, we'll pay 15. From 50,000 to 100,000, it's 10. And anything over 100,000 is 6. And on those larger transactions that require financial statements, those are just kind of, depends on what rate we get approved. So you have a $2 million deal, we probably aren't going to pay you 6 points on it. So those are the negotiable ones. But the standard app only is 15, 10, and 6.
Great. Do you do software? Did you hear that one? Do you guys do software?
Yes. Yep. We'll do off-the-shelf software. We can do some cloud software. So yeah, absolutely. There's very little equipment that we don't do. Just the standard stuff that most people don't do, that we can't do any cannabis. We can't do, fracking equipment, stuff like that, oil field industries, that sort of thing. And that white paper broker manual that I mentioned has all of those listed out, both industries and equipment. So we can always get you access to that, so you can determine which ones we do and don't do.
Okay. As a technology century company, what sorts of tech do you deploy in collections or lease enforcement?
Good question. I don't know. I haven't had that many have to go to collections.
That's a good thing.
Knock on wood. I haven't had too many of those go bad at this point. I'm not sure, honestly. I'll have to, if somebody wants to post their name in there or shoot me an email, I'll be happy to look into it for you.
Okay. We'll send you a list of attendees, and I'll let you know who that was, and you can.
Yeah, I'm happy to find out.
Interesting question. Well, I don't see any other questions, so let me turn the video on again. I guess we can wrap it up, and I just want to thank everyone for their participation, and big thanks to our valued funding source member and gold sponsor, Balboa Capital. Thank you for a great job, Vicki. We invite everyone to meet with Balboa Capital in person at the Commercial Financing Expo coming up this September in Las Vegas. Thanks again, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.